We gotta find. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. Gotta find the program. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find the program. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find the program. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find the program. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. The program. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? How y'all doing tonight? It is a beautiful Sunday, Friday, as always. Love when the weekend is coming around. Gonna look at might be a shorter stream today. I'm gonna look at the YorchTorch and KMed debate that happened on X and kind of give some of my opinions on it. I've already listened through it once, and I have some criticisms for KMed as well as some criticisms for Yorch, of course, at their takes on it. Let's get over here. Boom. There we go. There we go. Going to be doing some raiding today. Going to hit the Rust Belt, especially with the new map open. So we'll check that out. I also, Simon set a video out that's talking about it's the shadow looming over YouTube critics, kind of going over that idea of objective criticism for games and movies, really. So we'll start there. And move on. First, let me make sure my sound. I just realized I didn't check that. Boop. Settings. Audio. Oh yeah, my audio is already turned down. Okay. We'll go with it. We're good. So let's get the first one pulled up here. Boop. Yep, we're gonna listen to this while we play. I'll give some criticisms as they come up, and go from there. All right, let's go.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Want to get started?
Oh, they have a matriarch.
Yeah, sure. We can start a little early. That's not a problem.
Okay, awesome. So let's get started. Let me introduce you. Well, good night and good evening, good morning, wherever you are in any place in the world and you're listening to us. We decided, K-Med and myself, to have a debate. We have different takes, different points of view about gaming. Maybe some overlaps, maybe not. Who knows? And the idea is to have a meaningful, I think that's the way that I would put it, a meaningful conversation and to compare our different points of view. K-Med recently posted a viral tweet about, well, I first created it. I added a bunch of individuals that I personally consider legendary. K-Med took it, posted it, saying that it was a good block list, and it went viral. So, K-Med, thank you for joining. I'm hosting here. You're the co-host, but I'm giving you two minutes. Let's go for 3 minutes and explain your takes. Whatever. I think that you have a lot to say.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
sure. All right. Guess it's a little introduction. I've been on Twitter for like 15 years, but recently I've just seen a lot of these takes coming in, and Yorch is definitely one of those guys, along with many others. I wouldn't even say he's one that is the worst, but he's got some pretty strong takes about propaganda, in gaming, like mostly political propaganda or cultural propaganda, and I think we're gonna touch on corporate greed, and I think we're gonna have some overlap there. I'm thinking we probably will, um, and maybe that'll be surprising, but I just like to call out what I think is childish and ridiculous behavior on the part of many people, um, when it comes to the gaming scene, and I can get more into that once we open up questions, or I don't know how you want to do this, but I'm game for just like round robin, 2 minutes each, or however. Let's keep it civil.
Yeah, Mark, not the Mark y'all are probably thinking of. Mark, a friend online that I've had on the show to do a little debate about things, was talking about this, and when I think it's coming to this, like the debate bro stuff is just kind of overplayed and overdone. To me, the best options are just to sit down like men and talk about it, right? Say what your criticisms are, say what problems you have with each other. If it gets heated, it gets heated. There's a certain amount of respect you can talk about with it, but just say that you're gonna talk, right?
And I'm not here to start any more shit than I already do.
I would be.
If you want, let's do the following. I'll give you the 2 minutes now. We can take a look at the comments. People can go ahead
I
these
don't have any
spaces right now.
smokies.
There's a
Let's...
comments icon.
Okay.
Go ahead, type in your questions, your takes, your comments. We'll be reading those.
Back again?
I'll be giving you the cue for that, but go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll open up a kind of a question and an answer, or an answer and a question. So one of the things that I find pretty crazy is that we have a gigantic gaming industry. I
What
mean,
happened
like
to them?
200
Oh, there they are.
bajillion dollars worth of gaming. That's a made up number. I think it's 200 billion. But the focus is on very few games that come out that are either bad on their own accord, or they have some sort of,
My friend
political
Mark. That's
message
right.
that um, you, along with a lot of people, but you in general, will point out. And I find it funny that amongst all the AA, all the AAA games out there, all the unique creative, developers that are pumping out more games than anyone can keep up with nowadays, that the focus, and this is why I call this a grift, because the focus turns to a slight percentage of these games that may have some sometimes more, more vibrant than and obvious than not. Um, and people just hyper focus on these things and make video after video and post after post about these fucking, two, three games, maybe a dozen over the last few years, amongst hundreds, if not thousands of games out there, and accuse people of having some sort of agenda. And the thing that bothers me is that the people that play games are so diverse, from the ages of 4, 5 to 60. There are millions of gamers across various political spectrums, right? But yet everybody that has your point of view, that shares your point of view, has a conspiracy about it. And I think it's fucking crazy that anybody would believe this. And I think a few of you don't actually believe it and are just here for the clicks. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. So this is kind of the first thing that everyone gets into, that they're there for the clicks. I mean, yeah, I agree to a certain amount. That's new. That they're, everyone's doing it for the clicks and one thing or another, but it kind of falls into that grifter line. Motherfucker. Fuck you. It just falls into that like grifter line that's so easy for them to defend, right? I've been called a grifter, and because I play. Do I want to have a broader audience? Sure, but it doesn't fall into that same idea. It's not the same thing as being a grifter. Hey, we got a hiker. Boom. So, I mean, to me, it's already starting off a little flat.
And I'd like to hear your take on why you get yourself in this position and have such a strong stance on some of these topics that is a very small percentage of of the gaming industry as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Before answering your question, I just want to welcome every single one of you who's here. Please go ahead,
This is something he does throughout the thing. Like, I understand what he's trying to do, push it, but let's stick to the debate as much as we can.
repost, like these spaces, so we can get as much people as possible from both sides of the political, well, not the political debate, but from both sides of the debate. Go ahead, repost. Let's get as many people as possible. So, going back to your question, Kemet, here's the problem, and the reason why we focus on these releases. These are high-profile releases. These are releases from Ubisoft, from EA, um, that they tend to be tied to franchises that were built in an era where DI initiatives, for example, were not implemented in the workspace. And you can clearly see that there's an agenda and a way in which these games are being promoted. Because, for example, many of the community managers behind these big accounts, like the Assassin's Creed accounts, they start antagonizing gamers. They antagonize players.
So where are they antagonizing gamers? Like there have been instances of like individual people within companies antagonizing gamers, and I agree with like some of the ones where you might have like a lead dev or something like that that's antagonizing people. But it seems like now, like the Assassin's Creed portion of it, it feels like they're just doing it because they mogged Grums. And I'm sorry, that was funny. I don't care which side of the aisle you're on.
You can clearly see that there's a different direction, a different creative direction in which these franchises are heading to. You can obviously see it with, and I'm going to take a very particular example with Assassin's Creed Shadows. We were calling out uh, Ubisoft for making a game that involved DEI consultants um, who were really obvious about the agenda behind the game. And when the game was announced, there was obviously a backlash because of
Hold
the.
on. Was Sweet Baby Inc. involved at all with Assassin's Creed Shadows? Mark getting the beat down is always funny. Oh, every single time. So but like, were there DEI consultants? Yeah, there weren't any DEI consultants. Who won? I mean, I don't know that anyone really won in this case because I think like KMed could have pushed back on a lot of things in this like debate. That's you know what you call it. So I don't know. I think it kind of I think it was kind of like a nothing burger on both sides. There were things that could have been said, but no one said any of them, right? Is this going to show it? There we go. There we go. Sorry, I couldn't see y'all chatting at first. Welcome, Nader Bader 2, newer guy. Let's see. There we go. That should work. That should work. So let's keep going. Like he's already being dishonest in my opinion, whether he knows it or not. Like there wasn't DEI consultants with it. The only, the big push was Yasuke at first. The guy who wrote that book for Yasuke, if it was AC Shadows. I guess so. But there's really mixed signals. Like I started looking deep into it because I thought that guy was kind of a grifter on it, but there were mixed signals on it, and like he was even mentioned in their TV programming, if I remember right. So yeah, I don't think so.
Whole Yasuke controversy. Many people call it out, saying, "Hey, why are you making a game set in medieval Japan that has, even just from a gameplay perspective, you're giving us this bulky, giant monolith mountain kind of character, which is Yasuke in Assassin's Creed, which is a franchise that is mostly related to stealth." So,
And here's another thing you can push back on. Assassin's Creed hasn't been mostly about stealth since before Odyssey. Odyssey was like the big change. They moved away from stealth to, this action RPG style of playing, and it just doesn't. It's not what the franchise has been about, right? So Yasuke being in there is the action RPG side to Nawe, I think is what her name was, her stealth side. They were trying to have the best of both worlds.
just alone from a gameplay mechanic and perspective, it doesn't make any sense. We called it out, and then the media, legacy media, that we also call the legacy shields and so forth. Many of them are paid either directly or indirectly by these studios. They just start antagonizing the players who have a different opinion about these high-profile
Whoa.
games that are being promoted. And as soon as you have a different opinion, the legacy media, they start.
Yeah, it's not just having a different opinion. Like, it would be nice it was just having a different opinion, but it's calling absolutely everything woke and gay. It's just as antagonistic what they do, what the anti-woke does, in lieu of what the gaming community does. You can say it's even worse on the anti-woke side, right? There are normies who are getting really tired of the anti-woke grift because it comes up all the time. It's losing its weight. Someone said in the McDizzle said it today in the legacy, like they're losing their mainstream focus. It's just kind of drifting away because people don't want to deal with them. They just want to play the games, decide if the games are good, and go from there.
Start attacking you. And I think that it is very positive and healthy for the gaming industry as a whole to have an independent set of minds of people who are, as soon as they see a high profile release, you can obviously question it. Why? And I'm about to wrap this up in order for me to give you the floor. There was a huge controversy last year, and if it weren't for this controversy, perhaps it wouldn't have spin
Players,
my
but it wasn't
account
even out
hitting
yet,
X
right?
towards culture war stuff, which is when an employee from Sweet Baby Inc., a very, a popular or infamous DEI consultancy company, they went after a fellow player, Brutus, trying to.
Well, and here's going for the Cook Brutus thing. Yes, absolutely. I've said it 100 times. What they did to Cabrutus was wrong on so many levels, and they deserve all of the hate that they got for that. But now we're way past that point, right? And at this point, AC Shadows, which is the subject he's talking about, has nothing to do with this particular game, AC Shadows. So you're trying to like do a guilt by association, and he does this a couple times in this stream, but they're not associated. Assassin's Creed isn't associated. Right now, all of you explained is that Yasuke is the problem, but what's the problem about him? You're saying it's stealth, but that's not the thing. The stealth is in the game. Nawe is the stealth.
to for Steam to ban his entire gaming library. I mean, how insane is that? And obviously, there was a backlash because of that, and many people talked about it, and many gamers were felt threatened by everything that these DEI consultancy companies were doing, not only destroying the games and the franchises, but also going after gamers. And that is the reason why our scene and the scene that I belong to, it's being a voice for let's call it the rebellion against this madness of DI consultancy companies and franchises that are being completely derailed. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, no.
maybe back in the day, Kim Blair worked on AC Odyssey, and I'm sure they are trying to say they infected the company and something like that. Yeah, I mean, I guarantee you, the more I look at it, the more you can compare. What has killed AAA gaming companies as a whole has been live service games. That's just the way it is. And Ubisoft has been getting hate for years about how they've been trying to push live service mechanics into single player games. Like, look what happened to God, what's the name of that game? Wildlands. I forget the franchise that it is. The one right after Wildlands. Like Wildlands was an awesome game, and then they made the next one, and it was like paid cosmetics out the ass, and no one wanted to play it. So I mean, we can point to so many things that aren't woke, is what I'm getting at.
No, that's good. I'm glad we landed on, a specific game that kind of makes it easier to talk about. So Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I own, I've played some of. I have not finished the game. Um, I totally agree with the weirdness that it was to put a giant hulking dude in an Assassin's Creed game. Definitely
Well,
struck me
okay.
as odd.
And here's my problem with like his Far Cry is a series you're thinking about. No, it's not Far Cry. It's not Far Cry. Wildlands. Now I got to look it up. Wildlands game. Ghost Recon Wildlands. Ghost Recon Wildlands is the game that I'm thinking of. And the next Ghost Recon came out and was an absolute mess. It was just like, I didn't even pick it up because of all the transactions. So now we're on the same page.
He plays okay. I don't, I honestly rather like the stealth.
As for the thing with Yasuke, where it comes down to whether you believe he was a actual figure or not in history, or a samurai or not in history, what he has been in the West is romanticized, like the rest of the samurai thing. The rest of the samurai moniker, right? So you have like the Black Samurai has had animes. There's other shows. I think there's a couple of video games with it, right, that have come out. So them trying to take that in, you could say it's weird that they went to Japan, but it's not unheard of. Like I got to push back on K-Med for that
myself. But so that controversy was interesting because I do think that many people
knowing a
play the
Netflix
victim.
show, comic books too. I believe there's a comic book involved,
The second
or an anime. I don't remember.
that they aren't represented, and representation does not equal one-to-one propaganda. Just because someone's represented doesn't mean that there is a hidden agenda. Now, Sweet Baby Inc. Those wonderful people, and I say that sarcastically because I'm not generally fond of extreme
Foo
views
anime.
of any type, really. Because I feel like they take the little, they scream real loud like bitch, and they try to make a big stink out of it, which is kind of what I consider your scene doing. But Sweet Baby Inc. is a consultant. Consultants do not develop the game. Consultants do exactly what they're paid to do.
Yeah. I agree with you, Simon. He was real. He did exist, but there's a lot of debate on whether he would actually held the title of samurai, right?
That is consult. Then the developers take under advice what they think, right? What they think their customer base or
A lot
who
of
they're selling
unknowns. You're
to
right, Nate.
will like. Now, we can argue all day whether or not it was a good decision to put Yasuka in Assassin's Creed Shadows. What I dislike is the flip-flopping of historical accuracy versus not. There was a big debate of whether this even was a real character. It's a game, right? And if the gameplay works and if the game plays well and it's fun for people, right? Then why do we have to delve into the politics? Now, Assassin's Creed goes over many, many different time periods, right? So we're all over the place. They're not ruining one character because there are several. And I would understand, for instance, if the second God of War came out as Kratos all of a sudden being a black dude. Okay, I'd be like, that's fucking weird. What happened? It's kind of like the sequels to movies that don't, end up in the theater and they replace The Rock with somebody else entirely because, they gave up on the franchise. That shit is weird. And I agree to some extent. Again, the gameplay mechanics and the way that they kind of put that in there, I could see people wondering what the deal is. But ruining the franchise, I think, is hyperbole. Ubisoft, by the way, has just been fucking their games up for a decade.
Yeah.
Between the Far Cries that they're too pussy to make a political statement on, right, and end up making some generic, washed out Montana town bullshit, versus the Assassin's Creed that just keep lowering quality, MTXs, corporate greed just baked in there. So Ubisoft is just a terrible example because I feel like there's so much going on there that to even focus on DEI or Sweet Baby Inc. involvement is the smallest piece of the puzzle that you could choose in order to propagate the agenda that that the heterosexual male, is not represented in these games, when that is the farthest from the truth. The heterosexual white male, because everybody was upset with Yusuka, and then they started talking about the history behind it, and again, it's a game. And historical accuracy, you don't go looking for that in a video. If you go looking for that in a video game, then you're probably going to be disappointed. Go watch a Ken Burns film, right? Go watch a special on TV if you want historical accuracy. Go read a book.
Well,
More
okay.
people need to fucking-
I can, like, this part I kind of disagree with too, because you look at, like, yes, Assassin's Creed is not a historical game, so I can agree with that it doesn't need to be, because that's not what it's trying to be. However, like, you look at other games like Kingdom Come Deliverance 3, they got a lot of historical, consultants for it. Now, should you learn history from a game? No. But depending on the game, its breadth could be about, being historically accurate. I just don't think, like, the problem is Ubisoft said in that frame that they were trying to be historically accurate. They said they were going to make a historically accurate representation. The Yasuke stuff, you can argue, kind of goes against that because there's so many unknowns. But if you've watched any or played any Assassin's Creed game, I mean, you already know that historical accuracy isn't really what they do. It's never really that good, that deep, anything like that.
read. So I just find it very peculiar that people latch on to these things the second they see a black man, a gay woman, a trans character, and they jump on this shit like white on rice, man. And it is absolutely wild to me that more people don't question your intentions, because it sure feels like people are jumping on a bandwagon for clicks, likes, and clout versus actually believing what they're spouting. So I can wrap that up there.
And I've said it before, I believe for the most part there's a huge we fought the Pope in it. Yeah, the Pope was the bad guy in one of the Assassin's Creeds. What was it, 2? Oh, someone just shot at me. But hold on, what was he just saying here? You literally play as Jack the Ripper in the Syndicate. That I did not know, but I never really got into the Syndicate. I was kind of out of Assassin's Creed. Like, I played the first couple, and then I didn't really play any more. There we go. Woo, that hurt. That was not good. So yeah, the historical accuracy side is not there. But I want to listen real quick to what he just said.
Go watch a special on TV if you want historical accuracy. Go read a book. More people need to fucking read. So I just find it very peculiar that people latch on to these things the second they see a black man, a gay woman, a trans character, and they jump on this shit like white on rice, man. And
I mean, this is a fairly good point when you're talking about, like, especially with Assassin's Creed and a lot of these games, they jump on it immediately when the only thing that they see is the black man, the woman, the gay colors or something like that, with no other evidence on how it is actually woke. It's just, oh, look, female. This is going to be a woke game, guys.
It is absolutely wild to me that more people don't question your intentions, because it sure feels like people are jumping on a bandwagon for clicks, likes, and clout versus actually believing what they're spouting. So I can
Damn, I
wrap
don't
that
have
up
any
there
ammo.
and kind of give you the floor.
Yeah, thank you for that. I understand the concern and where you're coming from, but going back to the popularity of these franchises, and by the way, I'll also be answering a part of your previous question and your previous intervention about why gaming being so massive, we only focus on these high-profile releases, and we generally don't. Well, from your perspective, we don't focus on the indie games, which it's something that I'll approach in a second. But going back to what you said about just doing it for the clicks and the cloud, I think it goes back to Ghostbusters 2016. I know that I'm talking movies here. You have the Ghostbusters franchise, and then you have the all female Ghostbusters franchise, and then all these actresses are selling the most outrageous.
That was a horrible
stunts,
movie, by the way.
because of the political. Excuse me?
I said that was a horrible movie. I'm
You
sorry.
shooting at me.
Yeah. So, and then it was something like, I don't know if I should consider it at that point legacy media, but let's call it the mainstream media. They just focus on the controversy, and even if the movie flopped, they realized that there was a lot of traction in social media whenever you were provoking your fan base. And then games just started to notice that, and especially with games, perhaps it was a little bit earlier when the first signs of that were happening in 2014, Gamergate 1 and all of that. But then you started to see that these companies were becoming far more aggressive against gamers, even the community managers. Like, for example, all the stuff that Obsidian and if I'm not mistaken, it was Compulsion Games. Like, they were really attacking. I'm going to focus right now on Obsidian's art director. And Obsidian, this once revered studio that produced phenomenal RPGs. And this guy, I forgot the name of this guy, an art director, he goes and explicitly says that we won't be hiring white male dudes because we want to focus on whatever inclusion thing. So you're saying, well, we should be focusing on the game, and I agree on that. If you also have, if you're also listening and reading from the creative people, from the people behind the game, from the devs and the art directors, that they're saying stuff like that, how can you not separate it from the game? And it is exactly the same thing that happened with Assassin's Creed Shadows, just going back to our initial example, where the Assassin's Creed official account was blocking gamers who just dared to criticize and say, hey, how come there's Yasuke in a medieval Japanese setting? And I think it's a perfectly valid question, because whenever you envision medieval Japan, you envision Japanese people. I mean, that's like a native Japanese. You certainly don't envision this figure that's like an obscure individual that sure was part of the Nobunaga period and so forth, but you're just imagining either a badass female character or a badass male character in medieval Japan. That's the immediate thing that you can think of.
What? No, not really. Like, it could be literally any character that you can come up with. Ninja doesn't ever seem to be just like, I think of God, what's the Tenkeiyu, the Japanese one that had a female and a male character. Sorry, I've been a little bit focused on this dude down here. Let's see if we can find our way around to get another shot on him. But it's just ridiculous. Like, you think everything has to be this. Now, I primarily play games with, male protagonists, especially if it's an RPG game where I make it myself. But this idea that this is what everyone thinks about is just wrong.
And then obviously, I'm pretty sure that you may already be thinking, well, what about Ghost of Yoltec? And then I'm bringing the hot potato here. Well, it's a little bit different with Ghost of Yoltec because Ghost of Yoltec, again, it comes from a franchise, or at least an attempt to make a franchise, with a first entry that had been
Oh, got
a
me.
Japanese man, and then out of a sudden, um, Sucker Punch hires an actual Antifa member to voice act the game. So and this person starts pre-blocking because I never had
I hate when they.
English Japanese people. I mean, that's like a native Japanese. You you certainly don't envision
Yeah,
this
damage sector.
figure that's like an obscure individual that she sure was part of the Nobunaga period and so forth, but you're just imagining either a badass female character or a badass male character in medieval Japan. That's the immediate thing that you can think of. And then obviously, I'm pretty sure that you may already be thinking, well, what about Ghost of Yoltec? And then I'm bringing the hot potato here. Well, it's a little bit different with Ghost of Yoltec because Ghost of Yoltec, again, it comes from a franchise, or at least an attempt to make a franchise, with a first entry that had Jin, a Japanese man, and then out of a sudden, um, Sucker Punch hires an actual Antifa member to voice act the game. So, and
All right, so this is the biggest bullshit. He's talking about Ghost of Yotai. He's talking about hiring an Antifa member. When she made those comments, it was 2020. Antifa wasn't a fucking considered a terrorist organization. Are they fucking crazy and violent? Yeah, sure. There are people in there, but there were people around it who weren't for that, right? It's like the Proud Boys. I could get with the Proud Boys when they were first starting to come out, but then they actually became a terrorist organization, and you push away from them there. But just because someone had said something in 2020, that doesn't it doesn't reflect who they are now. She probably is. She probably is still as woke. And when she made the game, what did she do that added to the game to make the game woke? I don't give a fuck what her politics are on that. Did she change the game significantly with her woke bullshit? Or is she just a lefty who likes to be political, right? It's just, this is the only cope that they have for Yotai, is the actress is 100% woke. That's all they have. Everything else, the numbers that they misrepresent, that they lie about, everyone knows they're fucking wrong about it. The only thing they can point to is her. They're like, oh, I'm not buying this game because of this, and you shouldn't either.
and this person starts pre-blocking because I never had
right.
communication with Erika Ishii. I never had a single iota of interaction with her on X. And as soon as I go and visit her profile, boom, I'm blocked, like immediately.
Yes, I mean, they're when I say that there's people who are tired of hearing you, it's the same characters over and over and over again, right? So people who don't want to deal with those particular characters block. I'm sorry, you guys are just as likely to block as anyone else.
Anything. I didn't know about that whole Antifa thing. And so it makes it really difficult for gamers to separate the
No, it
game,
doesn't.
or at least people who like us who are really involved in gaming, to separate the politics and
It's you who specifically talk about the anti-woke, who talk about the woke. You who have the pattern recognition, you see everything. What it is you saw a female protagonist, right? That's what happened. You saw a female protagonist, and your brain went, there's something woke here, and then you went to go confirm your bias. That's what happened. There wasn't any objectively looking at the game or anything like that and finding it. You see something that might lead you down the trail of woke, and then you search for the things that confirm that woke for you. And the problem with that is most of the time In fact, almost all the time, you get the information wrong. Or, like Yotai, you're spent digging your heels in and moving the goalpost to prove yourself.
And behind the studio and the intentions and the legacy media that is in cahoots with the studios, with the game itself.
Just
I
gonna
don't know
go
what
in
are
with
your
a
thoughts
free
on this.
upload or free load.
Okay, yeah, let me hit up the Obsidian thing, right? So I'm a firm believer that, people should, when you're developing, when you're under the, when you're representing, that's a good word, representing your company, the politics, nah, like that ain't it. Okay, I'm pretty old school when it comes to that. You keep it gaming, you talk about the game. And so, the Obsidian thing, I'm not familiar with it, so I'm gonna take your word for it. But if they were coming out with comments that were, divisive, I mean, that's just bad business, first off. And secondly, like, what are they thinking? It's just not good common sense. If you want to sell your game, you want to not piss off your customer base. So
Yeah, but how many of the customer base are actually paying attention to these hires, right? Most gamers are the normie gamers that are just trying to play the game when they want to play the game. Even the people who might play hours and hours of the game are like kids and things like that. They're not hooked up on the anti-woke, right? It's a specific group that's in here that complains about these kind of things.
I'll leave that one there. So I do think that that's stupid, business wise, common sense wise. The Yasuka thing, you painted it with some rose tinted glasses there because I'm not sure we were seeing the same tweets when 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 they found out that a black dude was in this game. These motherfuckers came unglued at the seams. Okay,
That I agree
these
with.
people crawled up from whatever
Ooh,
fucking
rusty tools.
basement they're dwelling in, and they came in and started posting just disgusting, racist ass memes and photos and comments. And this was before I ever saw the Assassin's Creed accounts come at people, because they did, right? Oh, they came at like Grums. They came, they even at side remarks. Nothing. I don't think anything directly, maybe to certain users, but nothing too high profile that I saw that was directly calling out people. But they were being aggressive in defense of their game. That's
Yeah.
natural. You're fucking with their livelihood.
Well, it
Right.
was probably in the wrong choice. And if you listen to Ubisoft's take on it now, they basically said they've taken a a no contact policy when it comes to like the anti-woker people. The problem I always have with like the racist and whatever comments that you say about it is it's normally the shitters, right? And they're normally just trying. It's like internet people trying to get a dig in. Now, are some of them racist? Sure, absolutely, but like it goes into that guilt by association idea. You can call them dumb. You can say that what they're saying sounds racist, but I don't know that any of the anti-wokers in particular were saying anything racist.
Right. So they're gonna be defensive. Was Assassin's Creed Shadows a fantastic game? Whatever. I think it was a pretty average Assassin's Creed game, and I've played most of them. But and I haven't finished that one again. But it's Assassin's Creed. I feel like, yeah,
Yes.
you play one, you kind of play them all to a certain extent.
Yeah,
But
I
the
agree with
stuff
that.
that I saw, back to the shit that I saw on social media, was disgusting. And the veil that people hide behind, a
Really?
thin one, because I feel like, and I honestly don't know if I feel that way about you per se, but I feel like there are a lot of just racist ass people out there that decided.
Yeah, and this is where we're going to get into kind of the idea of the racist thing. Like I get it that people want to call them racist for the things they say. They say a lot of things that make them seem racist. And And I think if you say something enough times, then yeah, I mean, you live with that moniker. But I don't know that I would call them actual racists. I think there's a lot more focus that can be made towards the bad information that they give, the lack of information that they give, the lack of evidence, the lack of proof.
To latch on to this anti-woke, let's keep it gaming, anti-woke gaming community to be more racist. And now it's fucking okay to just say shit that would get you shot where I grew up. But online, behind the anime,
The racism card is tricky because of black conservatives that hate woke. Yeah, and I think anytime, like, the problem is throwing the term racist at anybody it's been so overdone. It's become a meaningless word because it was overused. It was overused by what's essentially the woke, the SJWs and all that other stuff. Everyone was called racist. Everyone was called a Nazi.
My real passion is my hobby.
Really?
Hey, Peter
I work
JT
with
just
retards.
subscribed. Thank you so much. We are up to 109 currently. So, and if you haven't liked the stream, go ahead and like the stream. We'll go ahead and get a little grift going here. Yeah, like the stream if you haven't liked the stream. Hit the bell so that you can have my streams come up. And, you know, we're working towards that 200 and then on the road to 500. But yeah, I mean, the moniker, to get back to it, of like racism just means nothing. It's not an argument that's going to win anyone over, and it's not an argument that really means much of anything. God dang, these things are all over the place. Like I said, I think it's better to push back on some of the other areas of the game. Like the way the coverage of Yotai is the perfect example of that, where they can be told something and they'll twist it even though it goes against their work. I mean, other black people like that call them the N-word. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, it's friendly coming in, friendly. No weapon. Is the guy on the roof coming in? But yeah, so it's also difficult to tell if someone is just being edgy compared to actual racism. Yeah, I agreed. Oh, house N-word. So soft A, is that what you're saying, Simon? Yeah, I mean, you never know, because like you said, people can be people can say racist jokes and things like that. I think in some cases people hide behind the moniker of being edgy. Like a lot of Smash's comments right now, I don't think Smash is racist. I think he's trying to cultivate, like he's trying to appeal to the racist audience, but he's not. I don't think he's racist at all. He's just trying to sound edgy when in fact he just sounds retarded and, well, racist, because he's not making jokes. He's just making random comments.
PFPs, these people are wild, okay? And I don't feel bad for them. And I don't really feel bad that somebody inserted a black dude in Assassin's Creed in feudal Japan, because that's kind of crazy. That's kind of wild. It was something new. It was the newest thing Assassin's Creed has done.
That's right. The newest thing that Assassin's Creed had done was to make it so that you could be a big black man beating the shit out of little Asian people. Beautiful.
Besides, charge you to, get more XP in Odyssey, I think is when they started that shit, okay? That's, fuck it. It's a game. They tried something new. People will bitch when they...
Well, yeah, here's the thing. When like I was saying, if you say racist, unhinged things too many times, people are going to label you as such. And while I don't believe in looking back on people's history, even though the anti-woke have clearly done it with the Yotai actress, the same thing is going to come back up with them in the future. So They need to be prepared. It's victimhood one way or the other when it comes back up.
They don't try new shit. People will bitch when they do try new shit, and then the racists come out and latch on to anything that can get that racism out of them. Black dude, in Assassin's Creed, Ghost of Yote has a woman. Oh, they hate women too. Unless it's Eve from Stellar Blade, then they make a video montage so that they can all, do whatever to. This shit is weird. Like, what do you want? So I guess I'll pose that question to you, and I'll leave it at that. What the fuck does your camp want? Do they just want another 10 Stellar Blades? Do they want Duke Nukem 3D to come back? That manly bravado?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what?
The internet does not forget, and when you associate and appeal to racists, most people will not want to affiliate with you, brands in particular. Yes, exactly. Like, it does hold real world consequences for making those choices. And you just can't be surprised when you can't find a sponsor or anything like that to work with you. I mean, what do you expect?
What revisionist history and nostalgia are they thinking of that gaming was so much better, 10, 15 years ago?
I'd tell you, the wokes have been in gaming just as long as the normal people have been in gaming. It's like the same thing with D&D. People talk like D&D was only the based chuds and stuff like that. Well, no, D&D is about building worlds. Everyone who can pick up that book can build those worlds. And while theater kids have become more prominent in the latest years with like Matt Mercer and the other guy, it's they've always been there. They've always been doing this. We talked about it yesterday with the furry stuff.
I don't understand. So I'd like to know what you guys want and why.
Yeah, I think it's a fair and a valid question. And many of us, I think the answer is that many of us grew with these franchises and these studios. And we can clearly see the decline in quality, the decline in the offering itself, physical
Yeah, but
versus
okay, and this is where I think he could push back on this. Now, there's like long talks, like Yorch likes to yap. I understand it. I like to yap, but you can push back on that idea, and I think K-Med should have pushed back on this idea that it was declining. Well, let's look at what started to really cause the decline in these AAA games. It was the AAA companies like EA buying out gaming teams, gaming companies, and squeezing them absolutely dry. It's Yorch. Yeah, it's Yorch that he's talking to. Well, it looks like they didn't grow up. So you talk about like, all right, let's look at Ubisoft. What's Ubisoft's history that brought it up? You had Odyssey was kind of a change where they basically almost pretty much abandoned the stealth for mostly the combat oriented. You talk about the Skull and Bones. That was, did I not bring any ammo? I fucking sure as hell didn't. Woo, buddy, that was smart. You talk about Skull and Bones that was in development hell for years. That was their live service push. They knew everyone wanted a Black Flag game, and they thought they were going to turn it into a live service because of how popular it was. It ended up being in development hell. They had to make the game because they were they had taken money from what I believe is Singapore. They had failure after failure. There's the NFT game that they put a ton of money to and then, quietly released for for no reception whatsoever, broken and full of shit. Like it's not just one game that brought down Ubisoft. You go to the same thing with BioWare, one of my favorite companies, right, back in the day, and you look where they started to fail, and it was the final nail was Anthem. They went and took what was the good team, took it away from um, the Mass Effect game, and put it to put it on whatchamacallit, put it on Anthem. And then Anthem was an absolute fucking mess. It's funny how Ubisoft and EA became more evil than Activision. Yeah. Yeah, that was something else for me. Then, you know, you can even keep going, because once Anthem happened, once Anthem was released, all of the devs that were like the major parts of BioWare left. So, I mean, you can look back on any of these games and point to this mess. You've met someone who worked at BioShock once? Nice.
The way in which games are marketed. And yeah, you can obviously accuse us of being extremely nostalgia driven. And I think that is a perfectly valid point. In the end, many of us are either centrists or center right, and just like myself, downright conservatives. In the sense that
those guys.
We're looking for tradition in things, and we like to conserve things, and that obviously affects the way in which
I'm sorry, these guys, like I keep hearing this like quote from them that they're like moderate conservatives. That's just not true by any stretch of the word. Like
we interact with our hobbies, in this particular case, gaming. So when you see a company like or a franchise
I
in
made
particular,
quite a bit
like
of money.
Halo,
We're out of
is
here.
a perfect example of this. Even Bungie as well. I mean, the Halo Bungie journey overall. Many of us didn't even grow with Halo. We grew with Marathon, a trilogy before Halo, and we already saw the signs that Bungie would eventually become an impressive studio. That you could, I mean, just from the box art, especially from the second Marathon, you could feel something different about that particular company and their games. So time passes, they release Halo. Halo becomes a cultural phenomenon. We got Halo 2, arguably one of the, if not the best, first-person shooter ever released in console. Then we got Halo 3, Halo 4, Halo Reach.
Halo Reach
but then you
wasn't.
see-
I don't remember Halo Reach being all that well loved, if I remember right. There's a lot of I mean, gamers tend to complain about every game that comes out and it not being perfect. But yeah, I don't remember Halo Reach having all that great a reception.
see this decline in quality, right?
Right. And what's the decline in quality? What happens when they have these successful games, right? What makes them successful? Or what happens when they become successful? They start making a lot of money. And with that money, they start to become corporate. as that studio has. I'm losing my mind and forgetting the name of things. Oh God, what am I? Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Come on, get around that corner, get in that house. All right. Let's let him lose us. So like it's corporate greed that starts to happen. It becomes less about the game and more about making money off the game, right? So, you know, there was the whole thing with you know, Microsoft and them fighting over rights and all that other stuff, and they ended up, you know, leaving and moving away, but money at the expense of a good product. They want easy slop. That's what happens with corporations, and you start to get these big business guys involved who don't play games. They don't want they don't want like creativity. They want money and they want it easy.
You see, you started to see it a
Quality
little
will
bit with
always be
Halo
better than
5,
quantity. I
and then you
agree.
see Halo Infinite, and at the same time, you're seeing all this pandering to Pride Month and Pride events and the Black History Month, and you open the Xbox dashboard and you say, "Hey, wait a minute," and Women's History Month and whatever the case may be. I mean, whatever uh, political or whatever social movement uh, is celebrated, quote unquote, celebrated during that
Yeah,
particular.
it wasn't political movements. Again, this is something that KMed should be pushing on. It's not political movements that changed it. Yo, what's going on? Boop, boop, boop.
What's going on, man? I'm friendly. I'm just trying to get out of here.
Yeah. I got you, brother. I got you. You know, it's about corporate. Oh, you motherfucker! You big homo.
Thank you for pressing the button now.
Mm-hmm. I am not having good runs today. I only got one thing. Oh, there's money for it too. But yeah, so already wrong one.
Month. You see it in their social media, in the Xbox dashboard, and it makes you realize that, hey, wait a minute. Back when I was in my teens and my 20s, I didn't see any of that. I didn't.
Right, because there wasn't a fucking internet to go on where people could speak their mind. Right? You didn't, there wasn't somewhere that someone could have their own personal account, say they worked for a company, but still talk about their political views. That just wasn't a fucking thing. It didn't exist when you were in your 20s, right? So you see it now, Yorch, because everyone puts their opinion on the internet. Well, not everyone. 25% of Americans put their, which I think 50% of that, if not more, is bot. Of that 25% is bots. Put their opinion on the internet. So you have taken what is corporate greed and slop and seen lefty devs and put it together that woke is what's killing gaming. And like I said, there are instances of woke. It can be a bad thing, but this is not what's causing the downfall of a lot of these companies. It's fake outrage.
Didn't see any Halo Pride costumes. It was just a bunch of friends having a good time. We didn't need to celebrate whatever month. Maybe we didn't celebrate. I mean, it was just.
Again, it wasn't all over the internet. Now they can do that, right? I think, like, have they done other things like Veterans Day and stuff like that? Probably not. They're probably pandering, and I agree it's pandering, but it's also very minor and not like anything you have to worry about. They're going to put anything that they want to promote on their main page. Just because they do a small little thing where you can buy gay shirts doesn't mean that they're pushing trans woke agenda on your kids.
Trashing us and trying to compete against each other just for the sake of gaming, right? Just for the joy of it. And then you start interweaving. I mean, these companies, which segue perfectly into the whole corporate grid. These companies, they start to realize, okay, there's a lot of money in games.
We're just going to go another.
More ambitious in our offerings, and if we become more, I mean, if we decide to take the ambitious route, then we need money, and then there comes institutions like, for example, BlackRock, where they have.
This is where we get into the massive conspiracy theory shit. I hate to tell them, but BlackRock does not give a fuck about woke. They do not give a shit. They're buying all of these companies out to become a huge monopoly and control everything. The same as Tencent, the same as the Saudi Arabian company that is buying up everything. They do not give a fuck. Most of them are probably right-wing fucking CEOs and board members that don't give a shit. They'll just, if the game doesn't sell because of whatever happened, you know, they'll just gut the company and start over again. This is conspiracy stuff that BlackRock wants to push all this gay agenda on people.
Stake in a particular company, and they say, well, we have this.
You see that with, you know, the statements that came out a while ago with BlackRock saying that they're moving away from DEI profiles. They're not. What they're doing is they're saving face. They're pandering to the other side now because that side's becoming more popular. If the pendulum swings back the other way to the lefty side, they'll pander again. It's not about anything else. Yes, I did fix it. I completely took Steam Labs off of me starting upstream, and I just use them mainly for things like my chat and stuff like that.
ESG DI credits that you can basically
Which I see the chat is not staying up on screen, so I may have to look into that.
get for cheap as long as you implement these policies. So companies like Microsoft go ahead, they own the Halo franchise, whatever the case may be, they own the Xbox brand, and they start to use those brands as these platforms in order to get those cheap credits to fund the games. But the problem with that is that it's cheap money. And when you're not focused on profit, when you're focused on growth alone, terrible things happen because you're no longer focused on quality. You're no longer focused on saying, oh, okay, I'm making a profit based on giving what people want. And I'm just, because I already have access to cheap money, then that means that I can hire anyone. I can hire activists. And I can just comply.
They're not hiring people because they think they're activists, right? They're not going, I'll hire activists. Everybody that's in this argument, I like fade out chat. It removes clutter, but that's just my opinion. Well, you know what? Maybe I'll keep it up then. Damage Sector, you keep improving my stream. It's just. Let me get my focus back again because I talked to Damage Sector. Let me listen. Go back a minute.
Where they have a stake in a particular company, and they say, well, we have these ESG DI credits that you can basically get for cheap as long as you implement these policies. So companies like Microsoft go ahead, they own the Halo franchise, whatever the case may be, they own the Xbox brand, and they start to use those brands as these platforms in order to get those cheap credits to fund the games.
Why do I keep
But
starting?
the problem with
here?
that is that it's cheap money. And when you're not focused on profit, when you're focused on growth alone,
a lot of this money that is going through and stuff like that has been happening for years. It's not a new thing. In the beginning of like a lot of gaming, there were a lot of programs that gave money to new gamers or new gaming companies and things like that to help promote them making it. That's where a lot of the money came from for like Dustborn and things like that. It wasn't to push DEI agendas. They have programs to improve the gaming or to improve their gaming scene in their country. So they're giving that out. I don't see how that equals, well, now we can hire activists, but here we are.
terrible things happen because you're no longer focused on quality. You're no longer focused on saying, oh, okay, I'm making a profit based on giving what people want. And I'm just, because I already have access to cheap money, then that means that I can hire anyone.
Yeah, the problem of slop games, again, has been around for forever, since corporations like EA really started to come into money and reach.
I can hire activists, and I can just comply with whatever DI checklist BlackRock is asking me to follow. And that's a huge problem with game. And again, I think that sometimes gaming became way too big for its own sake, because many interests that weren't initially there, they started to come
like
up.
This is BlackRock some big woke company that's their whole message is trying to spread woke ideas? Are they an activist group? I don't think they are. So what reason does BlackRock have to do that? Is he's saying it's for this free money, but I haven't seen anything showing that. Like I've seen DEI hiring things and stuff like that. Yeah, that's been around for forever. And I have my problems with those kind of hiring plans, but it's not like some big gay conspiracy to make everything big and gay.
Some of them with some degree of success, like for example, what Strauss Zelnick did with Take-Two Interactive. It's something historic. I mean, it's phenomenal. We can, spend an entire spaces talking about what Strauss Zelnick did with Rockstar and Take-Two.
I'm gonna die
and 2K
again.
Marin and all of those phenomenal studios. But the problem again is
Thanks for
when
the
all
help,
these
bud.
companies start taking all this cheap money in order to release a terrible product. I know that you have thoughts about this. Just before.
Hold on. Oh, thank you, bud. Do I have? I do. Oh no, there's another one. Oh shit! All right, here we go.
And you can go ahead and review whatever I said. But I just want to, before time runs out, I want to ask you, you've already asked me a couple of questions. I want to ask you a question, which is, switching gears just a little bit, how come there's this obsession?
This is a weird thing too, like asking questions after you just, said a bunch of stuff. Let him like rebuttal your, which is debate bro terms, I get it, but let him like rebuttal your argument. Let him talk about what you just said and give his opinions on it.
Session that I'm noticing on your side of things, on your perspective, where you have to trophy games in order to be considered a gamer. We are all playing games. I mean, you can take a look at my feed. I talk about retro games.
Yeah, this is a dumb argument.
Videos, and I've written threads about retro games, like for example, the American McGee Sallies. You see it there. It's there. I'm talking about games, about phenomenal retro and indie games. But there's like this obsession. If you don't show your trophies, that means that you are not a gamer. I think that is not healthy for the gaming community.
There is only one person that I think is not a gamer, and that is Smash. Because until recently, until very recently, he wasn't playing games. He was just... Oh shit, that is a fucking Rocketeer. And that is... Okay, that's my exit. Nope. Nope. I've seen his Steam page. It is privated now. I don't know why he privated his. If he is sure of, oh, someone went in here. If he says he's a real gamer, he should be able to show it. But it's empty. It's dead. And he didn't start actually playing games on stream until he started getting calling out for not playing games. Now, I agree. The idea that these guys don't play games is dumb. There's many of them who do play games. And, it's just a dumb argument.
At all. Go on.
The idea that you have to, have so many trophies and stuff like that, which he's going to bring up in a minute, is dumb too. Like, if you're a completionist gamer, that matters. If you're just a normal gamer, that probably doesn't matter much at all.
Okay, let me answer the trophy thing first, because I don't know that it applies to me, but I'm gonna answer your question either way. But I do want to pose a question. I'm gonna ask you now so that you can think about it. I don't know that I still kind of want to know what, gaming now or gaming in the future would look like if like you had your way, or your side's way, and I'd like to know kind of maybe some examples of games or fixes or new concepts that
What?
you might like. Now the trophy thing annoys the fuck out of me because I didn't grow up with trophies. I didn't grow up with achievements, right? I mean, I didn't.
Yep. Same here.
I'm friendly.
All right, we'll just both keep weapons up. I just got shot the last time doing this. Friendly, saying friendly. There we go. At least got that points.
We didn't have any of that shit. You played the game, um, and you beat it, and sometimes you didn't even know you beat it. It just went to credits, and it was kind of done, right? I mean, I think back then, and there were so many games that were short, incomplete, um, just shitty messes. They had a lot of like IP driven games that always failed, some branded game. That was a lot of that shit in the 90s. Um, but uh but the trophy thing, no, I agree to a certain extent that sharing your profile should not be a big deal, right? And people don't like to do that, and that's weird. But also everybody's really toxic. So I can almost kind of understand why people don't want to share personal information. Um, and there's doxing, all sorts of crazy shit that goes on here. But real gamers, this is why I don't even like considering myself a gamer, because that it's like everybody, not just you guys, everybody runs that fucking term to the ground. And it used to be kind of cool, and now it's just when people think gamer, we've reverted. Now we're not just fat Mountain Dew drinking, potato chip people. Now we're hateful or entitled or even more negative than it ever was before, in my opinion. But the
Well,
trophies,
the internet has shown just how gamers can be, and I'm sorry, gamers are very, very vitriol in the way that they talk about games. Holy shit! I almost knocked my whole fucking desk off. So yeah, I mean, the companies have been using that against gamers for quite a while.
1,000 out of 1,000 achievements, people use that as credibility. Uh, and I don't think that's fair because there are people that just play one or two games, right? And they may have thousands of hours. But who's to say that they're not a gamer? What if you just play COD and NBA and NFL? It's that's fine. That's fine. I have varied taste. I play fucking everything on PC, console, whatever. And I'll play indie games, I'll play AAA games. It all depends on my mood and how much time I have during the day to actually play anything. But I mean, my all my scores are okay. My profiles don't look like I don't play, but boy, it pales in comparison to some people that play thousands of hours,
Mhm.
every year. I don't get that kind of game time anymore. And when I did, there was none of this tracking. When I stayed up for days on end playing Counter Strike, um, there's no tracking that. So it does annoy me. I don't believe in that. I don't share that obsession with that. I mean, I'll give props to somebody if they platinum a game because, it means a lot to them. Like if they genuinely, and there are many people that I do follow that genuinely just like the platinum games, and more power to them. Like that's fucking great. And a lot of those people do not use that as a weapon, but I do see it weaponized. And I don't like that. Sometimes certain people have it coming, um, but um, yeah, I don't like the weaponization of it, but I also don't like people lying, right? So there's no way to really check that, and that became the de facto way of being like, did you really play the game? Let me see your trophies, right? Or let me see your achievements. Did you get that last achievement? So I get the verification process, the gatekeeping, um, because you want to make sure that the person you're speaking to, or that the subject in game they're speaking on, they actually know about. Um, and so I get both sides of that. But again, obsession about mostly anything, it just turns me off. So again, I'll wrap it up on that end, and I do want to ask you. You kind of made some points of what you didn't like, um, about gaming, and I'll actually comment on that just like 30 seconds. I think we kind of grew up in the same era, with the same type of games. And, I do remember it swinging real heavy to, like, the Duke Nukemness for a while, right? We got a lot of those games, Soldier of Fortune, Duke Nukem, yeah, just all the manly bravado games, right? There was a whole fuck ton of that, for quite a while in the 90s, early 2000s. And I'm going to say it, and I do agree, is that sometimes it swings too heavy to one side to appease, maybe customers that they think are there but aren't, or to, um, it's all about profits and corporate greed. We can, go on to that topic next, but they are chasing profits. I completely
All
agree,
right, I'll check them.
that companies adopt these, agendas, right? These, not even call them agendas, plans, right? to jump on whatever bandwagon, like they are gay for the month for Pride Month, and then all of a sudden they're not gay anymore, right? And it's not genuine. It's all very, very, obvious what they're doing. Um, and I don't like that either. So I think I share that dislike for, uh, things that are not genuine, that these companies do just to rake in profits off, skins, or, um, whatever banners, right? Whatever you can think of. I was thinking Halo. But and some of those skins are ugly to begin with. Like, goddamn, like what are they thinking? But yeah, no, I do agree that the forced, uh, camaraderie or support is a little weird, and it's a little much sometimes. And if it doesn't come from a genuine place, and if I see that your studio is, is doing this hard, but there's not a single gay person or not a single black person as a developer there. I'm thinking, what are we doing? You know? So there's an opposite side to every coin. And, um, I just think, being genuine is more important than anything else. So I'll give the floor up to you.
Yeah, thank you. Let me just reset the room for a little bit. We are here, K-Math and myself, George Storch. We're debating about corporate greed and political propaganda in games. K-Math does have a perspective, on, um, some people on my side of things, where we are just hitting and going against these high profile releases and really focusing on them instead of focusing on, or as Kemet mentions it, in the whole gaming picture, and we're just nailing down on the same couple of points. um, Thank you for joining every single one of them, every single one of you. Do us a favor, both Kate Bennett and myself, please go ahead, repost this debate. Let's get here as many people as possible. I think we're having a really good debate, a really interesting conversation. There are some points where we don't agree, but there are some overlap items. There are some items that actually overlap, and this is really interesting. So I think, going back to your question and the conversation, I think it all boils down to, well, not it all boils down to, but there's a concept that I think that you have been alluded to, and I just want to make it real clear. We're talking about demographics here, and there's no mistake. I mean, you cannot argue against the fact that a predominantly male demographic build the games industry. You cannot deny that fact. You cannot deny that most of the people who played Nintendo,
Yeah,
Super Nintendo, the NES, and the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, and the Game Boy, for the most part, were boys and young men.
Yeah, sure, but we're now in 2025 and it's a very even split, right? And I don't think the girls that were playing gamers were as active as the boys who were playing. It was very much seen as a boys' hobby, absolutely. But that's not where we are today. So where is this conversation going? And I do want to say that like K-Med really didn't push back on any of his original points from his last yap, but we are moving on to this one.
Men generally. So what happens is that gaming starts growing, and then corporations start to realize, hey, maybe I can start expanding my reach. Why don't we bring in women? Why don't we bring in this particular minority? Why don't
Now, see, this is retarded. This is a very retarded take. Gaming started to get a lot bigger, and there were games made for girls back in the day, like Barbie and stuff like that. But as the gaming world expanded, new franchises came out that started to change, that were more built for women, or women enjoyed more, like cozy games. You find women who play first person shooters and all of that other stuff. But cozy games has a larger audience. There's other groups I can't think of off the top of my head, but there's so many genres that are out now that appeal to a lot more people. This is something that happened naturally over the course of it. The games that came out, which, you look at Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley has a predecessor, Harvest Moon, which was very much like one of the first cozy games to come around. So I could definitely see that as women playing that more. But as cozy games became more vibrant, more populated with the rise of Stardew Valley, it expanded that. Same thing with all sorts of other games that are out there. It's not a simple thing anymore. The market has grown naturally, which means that that there are more people into gaming. This includes women. Boom, boom. Oh, hold on, it's not playing. Whoops. Why did it? Hold on. Really? What just fucking happened? I was looking that up for you, and
I watched a video by Anthony Gramuglia about objective.
Whoa. All right, let me go back to that mess. I am a hot fucking mess when it comes to this. All right, here we go.
get the male demographic? And
Okay,
one of the
there we
ways that
go.
they did, they had two strategies for that. One was Marvel, the second one was Lucasfilm. And the results of that have been disastrous. I mean, after they have been a disaster. Yeah, sure, you can bring up, oh, you got the MCU, but now the MCU is a disaster. So the
All
other thing
right, I
happens
sent
now,
it.
and
Damaged.
I don't think that when you have established franchises, it's just like giving Barbie, the Barbie franchise. Let's just go ahead, a bunch of shots, and hijack the franchise, and let's put guns and tanks and planes and action sequence on the Barbie franchise. It doesn't work that way. And this is exactly the same thing that many of these companies have been doing with
But
some
this is not the same thing as putting a female character in a game, like a female soldier. That's a trope. Like there have been female characters in many movies and things like that it would be unbelievable that they would be able to do what they do or whatever. I always think of Aliens had what's her face as one of the Marines, and so it's not I mean, Laura Croft in herself is that badass character. So this just doesn't fit. This isn't true. This is your bias and perception of it.
like Halo, for example.
Really? Hold on.
Up to a certain point, Assassin's Creed, or you see it Dragon Age. Perfect example of this. Oh, let's create this game, Dragon Age, the Veilguard. Let's own the charts and let's make a political statement about Barfus or whatever the case may be, and these androgynous characters. Which it's okay to have an androgynous character. I mean, we have many. I mean, I'm going into music now, but we have David Bowie, for example. And I have nothing against David Bowie. I consider him one of the greatest masters of glam rock. But then when you start forcing this, the problem is
I'm going to keep that closed for a minute while we go through
and
it.
you actually alluded to it. It's the way that you market it, in which it doesn't feel genuine. And I think that authenticity is key. And the problem, just to wrap this up, is that when companies when they get way too big, they forgot authenticity. They just leave authenticity by the wayside in order just to attract the largest possible demographic. And the problem with that.
Now the problem is like he's putting this in the wrong context, the wrong direction, but he is right. They do want a broader, wider audience, but they're looking for people that are outside of the genre, and that's where it can come into problems where the games start to feel the same. They feel like slop. They don't feel right. Like the biggest example I can point to in gaming is RPG mechanics. That fits right into the Odyssey idea of it's what companies started doing is they started adding in RPG mechanics into everything because RPGs were popular. And they thought that would bring in some of those people if they added in those mechanics. You saw it with looter shooters after Destiny came out and was, widely loved. Everyone started to try and turn their games into at least simulacrums of looter shooters. This is something that the slop AAA industry does constantly. Now, I do think there was a push for more woke games or more leftist style stuff. And I think a big push in that was 2016 to 2020, especially around 2020, because the libs, as we would say, had control of the internet right there, right? Twitter was controlled by the left more so than the right. In fact, to the point that conservatives were getting kicked off the platform for their takes and things like that. So what companies saw on the internet, which is a failing of all of these AAA companies to just believe what the internet is saying, made them think that that's what people wanted. And now a couple years later, all those games that are getting completed are failing because that's not what gamers wanted in those different series. It still falls, though, to the slop that's going on, not to the woke. Like, yes, again, there are woke. I don't want to say it doesn't exist because that's not true.
That is that it eventually dilutes the value of a franchise. You see it with Star Wars. You see it, again, going back to Halo. You even see the signs of this with Diablo 4. And you can obviously tell me, well,
you wouldn't mind a new Transformers game?
Diablo 2. Diablo 2 is generally
I haven't really played any.
And Diablo 4 it isn't. So all of that, I think, compounds. And we can nail down the problem with the corporate greed overall, that just companies lose the focus. So
yeah, okay. So
I'm about to finish this intervention. I know that.
So, and here's the thing: like he's talking about the corporate greed, like he was talking about like Diablo and how that works, and yes, I absolutely agree with him there on that. That it's corporate greed, but the anti-woke don't focus on any of that corporate greed, right? It's all got to be spun into some kind of anti-woke trope, that it's the wokies that are causing it and things like that. If it was just that it was corporate greed and they were fighting against it, which I don't think would get as much attention as other things. There we go. Let's see if we can get a pod. Then yeah, that would be it wouldn't make as much clicks, views, money, whatever you want to say for it.
but um, the way, because you keep asking us on your side, George, what is your ideal vision of the game industry with all these AAA and these high profile releases? Just, I cannot say go back to the way things were. That would be way too idealistic, but at least just be authentic as a company. If people are asking you to create,
Corporations will never be authentic because there's not the small camaraderie that they can give out to it. JFC Smash just played AI Girl 3 times because a guy donated $500. Jesus Christ. Listen, I'm going to say this about my channel. If I ever get monetized, I'm not going to do shit that you want to do just because you give me money. I'm not going to start dancing like a fucking clown. So I'm sorry if I miss out on that $500 to talk to female Grok, but it's just kind of proving my point a little bit, right?
there's a lot of hype for a game set in feudal Japan. Don't go and put Yasuke as a character. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Or either put it in a fantasy setting, or even put it in some other place, or don't try to play this game of we're going to be historical on this, but we're not going to be historically accurate on that. Just be authentic, because otherwise it doesn't feel genuine. Go on.
I just want to say that was a very reasonable rant. I do
Yeah,
have
I
a
don't
question.
completely agree.
I almost agree with everything you said there. Authenticity is important, and I think that's why Dragon Age Veilguard kind of flopped, right? I mean, it was all very forced. Like I haven't played the game. I watched all those cutscenes though, and there were a few, and there was some conversation back and
Wow,
forth.
I
I
suck.
played just a tiny bit of the game. I didn't like the mechanics at all.
Oh, come on.
But I agree that the force issues
Oh,
should
shit.
almost piss people off, right? Because that's
Fuck
just
me.
forced alliance, right? The forced solidarity. If you're not really doing things to better the game while attempting to write a genuine story
Okay, hold on.
about said characters, then you're kind of doing everybody a disservice. Then you're just checking off boxes, and this could be
I'm
said
going
for
to
many
die.
things, but we're arguing on the political spectrum here,
This
and
is
not
not
even
a good
political,
place to
just
be.
the inclusion spectrum, um, of trying to fit everybody everywhere all at once, and that doesn't work. You really can't do that. You can focus your game. You can be very niche and focus your game on, a certain, um, in a certain way that attracts certain gamers, or you can go the other way. And there is some sort of a middle ground too. There are a lot of games that don't upset anybody. That doesn't always make for a great game, but it makes for an easy to swallow game for a lot of people. And then there's games that don't involve any of that, right? That's more double A. So let's stick with the triple A, story driven narrative bullshit.
But I mean, here's the thing: like they're starting to come after AA and AAA, right? We've seen it with hold on. We've seen it with other franchises. Oh, my bad. Friendly. Let's go get that motherfucker. Oh, there you are. Oh, shit. Burner. Ah, damn. Hold on, guys. I'm focusing. Where is he at? We might have lost him. that and that. Oh, snap. God damn. Yes, they very much are in this game. All right. And I have not been having a good night. But I mean, like, it's not just AAAs. It's not just any of the other stuff. It's very much falling into anything that they can find now. The genuine wanting to be authentic thing could easily be said for them. You know, it kind of gives Terminator vibes. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Where are I mean, and the AI is really good, man. They will fly into like they will fly into and look around these holes. I've had one fly through one of these holes before, like that big one. It could be scary. Hey man, I'm just picking stuff up. Friendly. Oh, look at that. Oh, I need some stuff. Oh, nice. He got a weapons case. That's new. I'm out of here. Oh shit. Maybe not. So yeah. If you're not having a good night, I can joke around with you for a bit if you want. Yeah, if you want to come on, you can. I just mean in this. Yeah, you can come on if you have any notes or anything you want to talk about with this too. We can talk about it. I'm probably actually going to end a little bit early as we go through here. Let's see. I'll jump into the live stream. Jump into waiting room if you want.
And I do agree
Whoops.
with you, and you sound so reasonable that I'm going to pose this question to you, because I don't have a whole lot of rebuttal there. I feel like things swing. It feels like it goes in cycles. That it's cyclical, and it rotates. People try to appease a certain demographic that they think they can get money from, and whatever that demographic be, right? And they shift their products towards that. This happens with physical products, right? This happens from cars to ovens to beds to power tools. I mean, it happens
Power
everywhere
tools.
where they will, adapt their strategy, and it's not always a winner, right? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it changes the company completely. And they become something else, and it may be successful or they may go bankrupt, right? And I think that's kind of what we're seeing in the games industry. I think we're seeing some consolidation, which I don't generally like, we're seeing some watered down kind of commoditizing, the Netflixing, right, of gaming. And
Well, yeah, you're definitely seeing that try to happen with like, Microsoft and Xbox. I still don't know how well that's going to go with the way they've done it, but who knows?
no offense to Netflix, because there are definitely some bangers on that service, but it's also trying to appeal to everyone all at once everywhere. And you get a lot of just kind of generic feeling movies, generic feeling TV shows. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. I've watched fucking a shit ton of Netflix this year. I don't think I don't know the name of
Yo,
that J-Lo robot movie. I have no fucking idea what the name of it was. I don't know how it ended. I know I watched it. Was it bad? Yeah, it wasn't good. Did I finish it? Sure. Right? That's the problem. And I agree that we're switching from an era that was passionate about games, right? That created games that they thought people would love to express themselves, to express that form of art, And it was a kind of an extension of themselves. They put their blood, sweat, and tears in it, and now it's a machine, right? And the second that corporations figured out that fucking gaming was a profitable industry, holy shit, right? I mean, the floodgates opened. Everybody and their sister wanted in to make games to make millions. They were no longer thinking we're going to make games because these people are going to fall in love with it, right? Or I'm going to be able to take
Coming
this
in.
dude out of his shitty day, transport him to whatever,
Feel like
place
this is
I'm
a
in
trap.
for just a couple hours. And he's
Hurry
going to
up.
absolutely love it.
Hurry
And I'm
up.
going to sell this shit for $50. I'm going to make some money.
Oh, my bad. Oh, good. You got in.
But now it is just a profit making machine that at this point, I do feel that there are very few companies, bigger companies, that give a shit about anything except making money. And that's why over the past, I'd say 5 years, for me, I've drifted further and further away from AAA and
Yeah, I agree with
started
him here.
doing,
Like I have moved, like I guess you could call this AAA. It's definitely AAA now. Embark I would have called AA. Well, no, because the finals was doing well as well. But I play a lot of indies. I used to have a lot. Well, when I get to play, uh, I've played a lot of indies or AA titles. Like I was a fan of Lyrian Studios before Baldur's Gate 3, um, and they were never really anything more than a AA.
AA and just the small titles because there's still passion in there. There's still you can see it. Um, oh fuck that game ball X pit. I don't know. I don't think you pronounce the X. But what a fantastic game. I can't buy enough copies. I'm just giving it to people. And it's an incredible game, and I can see that that person loved what they did. And that's a small example, but even if we had 10, 15, 20% of that back into that AAA space, I think I think we could just do better. And I hope it swings that way. I hope maybe these layoffs, these consolidations, these buyouts, right, and acquisitions, maybe maybe somebody takes note and looks back and figures out what made those sales, made those hits, and comes back to that to some extent. Like you said, going back to the way it was, it's never going to happen. The floodgates are open, money's to be made, but a balance would be nice. The fucking microtransactions are crazy. The prices they want for certain things are absolutely crazy. Accessibility is fantastic though, right? Because you can play free games all day long. Shit, you don't even have to buy a game. You could probably play a new game every day of the month that's free,
True.
right? Because of the microtransactions. So it's a balance. I want more people to play. I want more people to enjoy games, but I want more people to play good games. And I don't want just watered down Netflix specials, and hope that maybe one game, out of this company won't be some shitty mess. This year, we've had lots of good games, and I feel really lucky. And last year was good too. But we still are getting a lot of garbage that, again, unfortunately, use these revered franchises names, right? For instance, Veilguard. I can agree with you there. And it's disappointing to see that they picked Mass Effect was
The
another one.
problem with the problem with Veilguard is it also goes way back into BioWare's like history with it. The game was like dead in the water almost to begin with. Like Dreadwolf is I remember people being excited about, but the lead art director very much came out and said that like he was going to push as many politics into the game as he could. So I mean the warnings were already up in the air. That should have been no surprise to anyone whatsoever.
Mass Effect is one of my favorites. That they picked that franchise right? To be like, oh, we're gonna milk a little more out of this, but let's try to get more people, so let's fuck it all up, type of thing, right? So yeah, I think what you said, there's definitely some truth in that. I agree at least with 75% of that. But when you tweet, and I'm going a little long, I'm sorry. When you tweet very differently
Don't
than me.
apologize. Go at
And
him.
um, I'll let that linger there. Take that as you will, but I'll give the floor to you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Um, let's actually spice things a little bit up. I don't know if the last portion of that was a question, but I definitely have a couple of words on that. But before, I would like to focus on something just to spice things up because we are running out of time. What if we do the following, Kemet? There are some comments that would be, let's say, uncomfortable to your
Simple
side.
down parts. That's
I'll
what
be
I'm.
reading those, and I'll be reading the ones that would be uncomfortable for my side, and I will try to reply to those. Just 1 minute, 30 seconds,
Okay,
1
yeah,
minute.
yeah, sure,
Is
go
that
for
okay?
it, go for it.
We'll start.
All right, so we're gonna end it here. He asked a couple of questions, um, to audience members and goes over things. None of it was too interesting, I guess, enough to spend the last 6 minutes. So we will end it there. I think I'm gonna save the video I was gonna watch after this for next stream and end it a little bit early tonight, but. I do want to thank all of y'all for coming by. Thank you to the new people like Peter JT, the best of the JTs, for subbing to the channel. If you haven't on your way out, like the stream, give me a sub if you enjoy what I do and what I talk about, and I will see you guys next time. All right.